So given that a number of their recent programs are failing, out comes the jackass think tank people with this classic this week that kind of defies belief, but it's that common now. It is what it is. And they, in their wisdom, have decided to do a study and looked at how people's personality traits could influence whether they partake in the coronavirus pandemic health guidelines or not. And study author Pavel Blagov, I can think of another off to him, surveyed people about their habits during the pandemic and also asked them personality-based questions. There we go again with the profiling. So Blagov found that people who exhibited more psychopathic traits like meanness and a lack of restraint were more likely to disregard policies like social distancing. Well, jackasses these people are. And then he said there was reports of people licking toilet seats. Well, suppose it makes a change from Team Bubba licking windows, but I find that a bit difficult to believe. And others intentionally spitting on others during the coronavirus pandemic left you astounded, they said. A new study on the psychology of pandemic behaviours could answer your questions about what motivated their so-called behaviours. Now, the study, a peer-reviewed, whatever that means, perhaps he meant the toilet, preprint that will soon be published in the journal Social Psychology and Personality Science. Oh dear. And it asked 502 people out of 7.5 billion, and they came to this conclusion. Nice, fair survey, that. And it asked questions how often they followed the coronavirus pandemic health guidelines, if they plan to follow guidelines going forward, and what they do if they were diagnosed with COVID-19. And the researchers also asked personality-related questions to determine whether survey participants fell on scales for conscientiousness, cooperativeness, neuroticism, tendency to take risks, meanness, and a lack of restraint. Notice they failed to leave out the subject, I have my own brain. And if participants answered questions in a manner that suggested they had low levels of neuroticism, tendency to take risks, meanness, and a lack of restraint, they were more likely to follow social distancing guidelines. But if they scored high in these traits, they were less likely to follow guidelines. And the author said these traits are also common psychopathic traits, said the psychopath. And he said, I knew these traits from the so-called dark triad. The Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Don't go there, Thomas. But it is the dark triad, I'm sorry. It's not one-on-one with the one. And the dark triad is called narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, as well as the traits subsumed within psychopathy are linked to health risk behaviour and also health problems. And I expected them to be implicated in health behaviours during the pandemic, he said. Indeed. His study suggested a small correlation between psychopathic traits and disregard for pandemic public health policies does exist, according to these people. Now, Blagov said the majority of survey participants said they followed coronavirus health guidelines. Bots then. But those who didn't follow guidelines answered the survey questions in a manner that suggested they knowingly and purposefully ignored the safety device. That's called being smart, not dumb. For example, study participants who scored high on traits like meanness and lack of restraint also said they didn't follow social distancing and hygiene practices like hand washing. And Blagoff said these findings are concerning from a public health perspective. Well, his name may be Blagoff or it could be Blackguard. Either way, he needs a new job. So social distancing refusal is now the new conspiracy theorist ploy they have used to alienate people who can think for themselves. Just replace one meme with another. Mr. Blagoff would be better served analysing the policymakers and why they are in so much fear and hate to impose this ridiculousness on the people. It's the classic divide and conquer program ran over and over again, like Black Lives Matter, the male and female divide that people like Blagoff and the media all push onto the gullible people. But there is a name of this particular science, social psychology and personality science. Is essentially a Langley, Harvard, Tavistock think tank group of jackasses. Nothing more, nothing less. And they need to look at their own psychotic states instead of judging others, in my opinion.